Good morning, and welcome to January 11th, 2024, and another episode of Who Am I? Who Am I? That show that discusses what it means to be a human being on planet Earth in the 21st century, because we are in the 21st century. I can tell you some of what it was like to be a human being on Earth in the 20th century. Some of that might come up. But we're just talking about who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I who am I from a bunch of different directions? Not from every possible direction, but who am I as a powerful creator? Who am I as the quantum field? Who am I as source energy? Who am I as an individual? Who am I as a collective being? Who am I as biotechnology? What is my design? How does my design relate to the nature of source energy? Where did I come from? We might skim on that for a minute. It's part of my general presentation, which this is my general presentation. There might be some, riffing and new material pop up along with it, but generally I'm tracking the same general thesis about who we are and how we function, how our systems function, our vibrational systems, our mental, physical, psychological. Well, you'll just have to wait and see. You just have to watch this and see, or listen, or whatever. Who am I? Who am I? So, a couple things. First of all, we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe, and source energy is vibrational. It's all vibrational. Everything is vibrational, and I'm a binary being. I'm a binary system in a in a vibrational universe. How does that work? I never know how to approach this. It's not like I get into the same space and I say exactly the same thing every day. I'm just trying to hit a particular circle around and hit all these different points within a single presentation because I have a thesis point. One of my points is that I believe we live in the most amazing, the potential for amazingness within the system that we've got, driving the machines that we're driving, human being vehicles. The potential for amazing is just breathtaking and all around you. And I'm going to talk about how we get there. How do we get our dreams to come true? Because we got big dreams. We've got big dreams, people. And we've got big, enormous issues, problems that we got going on right now on planet Earth. And one of my dreams that I would like to have come true is those problems get solved. We aren't living on the brinky edge at all times of dropping into the abyss of nothingness. We aren't teetering on the brink of extinction, disaster, catastrophe, meltdown, or whatever I've been told all my life. This fear of overpopulation and this recognition of scarcity and all that kind of stuff. I could give you a list. I wrote this down yesterday, so I can do it real easily now. I have a list of what we've got that we don't like, and a list of what, as human beings, collectively we want. And the idea for us as a group, we need to absolutely recognize the truth of the problems that we have to overcome on the one hand, but don't focus on the problems. Just know that they're there. And as a matter of fact, one of the reasons to know that they're there is this is going to be really satisfying when this gets solved. Source energy is on it, by the way. The frequency of the solution is in the field. You've got to have the faith that the system works. Go find that frequency that is the answer. And then from that position, you emanate that frequency, and that puts you on that channel, and then now the good ideas drop into all of your actions that support that end result, that dream coming true. They start coming to you. So what is it that we don't want as human beings? Now, I barely scratched the surface of talking about who we are, and I'm already talking about us as a group. What do we want? What do we not want? Well, what we don't want is this. This is some of what we've got. We're undergoing, we're the sixth mass extinction of biodiversity and biomass, by the way, but biodiversity on planet Earth is underway right now, caused by human behavior. You don't need to bring in any words that you can argue about, like global warming, right? Actually, I believe that there is a planetary, cosmic, cosmological, cyclical global warming event underway right now that we don't have anything to do with. However, the activities of human beings are absolutely exacerbating that problem, that challenge, that what would have been a challenge to begin with for us to adapt to the warming planet that was being warmed by not by what we were doing, but by cosmological cyclical events. But our activities on planet Earth are really exacerbating the problem, and the way that we are burning fossil fuels is absolutely not sustainable. It just isn't sustainable. It isn't sustainable. We don't want to do that anymore anyway. It's poisoning the planet. Our activity is causing the sixth mass extinction, whatever you want to argue about. Other things we don't want, the growing deserts, desertification, the Sahara is marching. And what's causing that is human beings living on the marginal edge of that desert, of all the deserts that are growing. What's causing that growth is perhaps first the global warming that we just decided it's a cyclical natural event being exacerbated, being accelerated, being turned into something really hard to deal with by human behavior. So it's a mixture of things. Anybody who's saying, no, but this happens all the time. Yes, it's true. There is a natural global warming event underway. But that wouldn't be nearly the problem that it is if it wasn't for the fact that our activities are really putting it on steroids. Growing deserts, Garbage Island. How about that one? Don't like that. Don't like that. Hate oil spills, too. Oil spills in the ocean. God, I almost died inside when the Deepwater Horizon was spewing its filth back in 2009. I thought I was going to die. War. I don't like war. And you know what? War is marching again. It's growing in the Middle East. Putin is just not done with Ukraine. He still wants to win over there. He hasn't been stopped. War, don't like it. Holocaust. Sometimes war can lead to holocausts, and man, that's crap. Suffering, cruelty, the plight of Korean dogs, drowning polar bears, all these things. I don't like any of these things. So this is my litany of what we've got that I don't like. I also dislike things like the inefficiency in our communications and transportation systems. Not good. Don't like any of that. Okay, so what do I want? As a human being, what is it that I want? So I'm going to say this in absolute generalities. These are spirits that I want. But these spirits correspond to physical realities. And this is what we want. Freedom, 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 abundance, clarity, fun, efficiency, relationship, good food, comfort, beauty, all of those things, right? Wouldn't argue with any of those things. That's what we want. And actually, if you focus on the clarity of these vibrations, and if you, we're going to get into more detail about how our biotechnology functions and how it is that you go about understanding your own life, know which direction to turn, know how to listen to your vibrational broader perspective, your inner being, your cosmological self, your vibrational, what do I call this? Your eternal, it's you as the quantum field, you as the formless giving rise to the form. Who are you? Who are you? How to identify, how to line your two selves up. So let's start the slides. I have my little visual aids assisting me in making my points to help us understand who we are and how this works, because I believe that this can be understood. I also believe that the quickest way to not being able to believe, to understand, is to believe that you cannot understand. If you believe it can't be understood, then you can't understand it. And this has been standing in humanity's way for a very long time. We have believed that this can't be understood, and so nobody's worked on trying to understand it. You actually can understand it, and it's not nearly as hard as we think that it is. All of my life, I sort of lived with a couple of mantras. And the first one was, don't believe things that don't make sense to you. If it doesn't make sense, don't believe it. Believe what you believe, but only if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, don't believe it. Don't insert that faith bridge to get you across stupid things. I noticed my fellow human beings often, usually, in a religious context would take that faith bridge and apply it in places that I didn't think was a very good place to put it. Oh, this doesn't make sense to me, but my church is telling me that it's true, so okay, I'll just take it on faith. I believe this. And then now they think that all the time, even though it hasn't added up to all of the rest of what they think. You know, it'll come clear at some point. I'll just take this on faith and someday it'll come clear. Well, I did it different. It was like I did have faith. My faith was placed in a couple of different places. One was, I don't quite understand what it is, but I believe it can be understood. That was kind of one of the things I sort of took on faith. Another one was, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's all right. It's all right. I don't know how it's all right. It doesn't look all right. I've been studying a lot of things that are not all right at all. I was fascinated with Nazis and the Holocaust. I was sort of outraged when I realized the extent of the vivisection industry in the United States and how it connected to our allopathic medicine models and education system and legal system, and I was outraged when I realized it, and that's not all right. The vivisection industry is not all right. None of that was all right. But somehow I still felt that life itself was all right, and that whatever the configuration of eternity was, it was all right, and I'd figure it out at some point. If it didn't happen until I died, oh well. But still, it was all right. I put my faith there. That's where I put my faith. I didn't put my faith anyplace else. I didn't use it in my analytical mind to bridge any beliefs that didn't make sense to me. I never used faith in that way. As a matter of fact, for the longest time, I didn't realize how important faith was. Faith is really important. It's really important. But I believe you got to put it in the right place. You can't be using it to bridge nonsense in your analytical mind. You shouldn't, within your analytical mind, you shouldn't believe anything that doesn't make sense to you. Your analytical mind runs like a computer program. It runs like a computer itself, not like a program. It's the computer running the program, and it needs to be set up sensibly. And when it's set up sensibly, and when you understand who you are and how your binary system works, your source mind in tandem with your human being meat mind, your conventional made of brain kind of mind, that mind, your ego self, your specific self, however you want to call these, you are two aspects. You are the formless giving rise to the form. That's one way of looking at that duality. We're fascinated with duality, and there actually is a duality that we need to understand that's really important. It gets us to the heart of understanding our biological systems. You know, who am I? Who am I? That kind of thing. So you are kind of a duality sort of system, a binary system, if you will. I like this picture. It's really plain Jane. I found it on the internet. It's actually camera apertures, one showing one wide open and one kind of constricted, focusing in. I like this because of how it illustrates your binary self. That wide open aperture, imagine that to be your source mind, your vibrational inner being. That's your inner being. Your broader perspective, the one who sees more than you see. With clarity, by the way. But you, over there on the right there, you are tightly focusing in on very specific things, very specific. You can dial in boots on the ground in a particular way that your inner being can't do. But that's okay, because your inner being has you. You are a tandem system. You are a binary system. You are two minds. One is focused on everything that is. It knows where everything is. It is vibrationally in touch with all the information of the field. This is how come your inner being knows everything. It's in touch with everything, and we're going to talk about that before we're done with this presentation. We're going to talk about how your inner being knows everything. Now, after you've listened to this presentation, you can go into any of these fields that I've talked about, and you can look at them in more detail. Like, I'm going to be talking about law of attraction. You can go over and look at law of attraction. Go look at all of the videos, all the hundreds, thousands. She's got thousands of them now. Abraham Hicks, from all kinds of different channels. Other people are putting stuff up. She's putting stuff up. There's so many Abraham Hicks videos out there. Little 14-minute clips, that talk about the law of attraction. Go study that. Or if you're interested in the new physics, you can go over to the International Space Federation or the Resonance Science Foundation and follow those trails to all of the technical information about how to understand this new way of looking at physics. All of these things, you can go examine what I'm talking about in greater detail from all kinds of other directions, because it's not just me. I am, in a way, none of my material is original. What's original about what I do is I'm sort of a general. I'm a general kind of person. I'm a general. Turns out my value, what I have held in high value for my whole life has been alignment rather than momentum. So I really have spent a lot of years without much going on, because I would rather be in the doldrums not doing anything, as opposed to, full board, high momentum in without being in alignment. That's scary to me. I did that for a while in my 30s, in my 20s and my 30s. I did a little bit of high momentum without full alignment, and it's scary. It's scary to run your equipment without understanding how it works. Stuff happens that you didn't want. You get relationships that haunt you, Anyway, so we're going to serve the spirit of greater understanding, higher consciousness, growing consciousness, as we explore this question of who am I, and how does this work? So this is the representation of the two minds, your source mind and your specific physical you mind. This is you. And it's important, you know what? All right, excuse me if I sound a little mixed up. It's a huge thesis that I'm tackling here, a huge set of information that needs to be added together in our greater understanding. So who am I? What am I actually talking about? I am talking about who am I in reference to source energy. Who am I as an individual in reference to source energy? Who am I as a collective being as source energy, which actually is who am I as a morphogenetic field? Who are we as a collective oneness? Who are we as a single being, humanity? Who am I as an individual? Who am I as the group? Who am I as a powerful creator in general? Who am I as life itself? Who am I as the quantum field? All of that. Who am I as source? And what is source energy? We're going to talk about that too, because this is a two-pronged situation. One is I want to help us understand more clearly as individuals the meaning of our emotions, how to transform what we've got into what we want. How does reality making actually work? What are the main components of it? Spoiler right now, it's focus and attention. It's how you are focusing and exactly what you are focusing upon. Are you focusing upon the absence of what you want, or are you focusing on what you want? Are you focusing on what you've got that you don't like, which implies what you want? Or are you focusing on what you want? Because whatever you're focusing on and however you are feeling about it, that is an indication of which direction your cosmic, made of light starship of consciousness is moving. That's showing you the direction that you are moving. You, on your life path, are you moving in the direction of what you want, or are you moving 180 degrees in the opposite direction of what you want? Which actually is very important to know, because it is 180 degrees in the opposite direction. So if you are under the impetus of a negative emotion and acting, you are at that moment walking 180 degrees in the opposite direction of what you want. Now, if you feel a little bit bad, then you're not walking very fast in that direction. If you feel really, really bad and you persist on acting, you are rapidly moving in the opposite direction, 180 degrees. So it's still good information. It's sort of like the negative of a photograph has all the information of the positive photograph. It's just stated on the flip of it. But it's still good information, and as a matter of fact, you can use that negative to make the positive you're looking for. the implicate positive is created the second that that negative is cried. When you are looking at what you want is implied. It's implied to your inner being, and your inner being knows full well what it is you want. And as a matter of fact, it's only looking at what you want. It's not looking at what you don't want. It is only looking at what you want. It's designed that way. Your vibrational source energy self is only looking at what you want, because that's what it is. It is the impetus of desire forward. It is what you want. As a matter of fact, I was getting onto this yesterday, so if you tuned in to me yesterday, and yesterday's program is on the channel now. This is a brand new channel. I opened it up yesterday. It's dedicated to these recordings. I do them every morning. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not as good, sometimes they're clear, sometimes they're not as clear. Forgive me if this one isn't. I don't know what it is. I never listen to these, because when I listen to them, it throws me into a different place, and then I can't make them. I start getting self-conscious, and I start thinking about how crazy I sound, and then I shut myself down. So I can't listen to these, so I don't know. But I believe yesterday I started mentioning... Okay, I give up. Unfortunately, something distracted me. I forgot what it was that I said yesterday that I just recently started saying. And so I'm not going to be able to say that until this discussion brings me back around to it. And I go, oh yeah, there you are. So until then, we're just going to back up, doing the best we can. Remember, there's kind of a thesis going on here. It has to do with how source energy works, who am I as source, how to focus my attention so that I move in the direction of what I want instead of the direction that I don't want, and how the focus of my attention is actually determining which direction I'm going. And I had been talking about positive and negative photographs, and how, how source energy is marking only what you want. I can't remember what it was, what my new little pet sentence was. I guess we'll find out later. Who am I? Who am I in reference to source energy, and how does my equipment work? How do I make my dreams come true instead of my nightmares? Because quite frankly, people, we are dreaming this into place. We are thinking and feeling and dreaming this into place. And as long as the focus of our attention is squarely upon all of the horrors that we do not want, then we are nightmaring our reality into being, and we are creating more and more and more of that dark energy that we don't want. And so we really need to understand how these energies move and how these energies work, so that we can build a world that doesn't contain all the demons, and we shouldn't be taking the demons personally. The demons are energy flows. They are human beings who have picked up negative energy and run with it. I like to think of it as, I've been thinking of it recently as, so this is my little mini explanation. It's a generalized explanation, but it does work. This is what's happening. When we do not understand who we are, and we, in our not understanding of who we are, create systems that are not in alignment with source. They aren't really fulfilling all the needs of the morphogenetic field involved. For instance, not filling all the needs of human beings, if you're talking about the field of humanity, the systems of humanity. So we're talking about humanity as a group is a system. We produce food, we produce goods, we transfer information, we talk to each other, we transfer these goods to one another, goods and services and ideas whirling around the planet. We have all kinds of mailing systems, delivery systems, we have production systems, we have We are a flow of goods and services and information. And these goods and services are serving humanity. Now, when our systems when they aren't sustainable, and lots of people and beings are left out, and in the transaction of these systems, things are out of alignment. I'm getting to something. When we create systems that are not sustainable, it creates Shiva energy in the field. Shiva energy in the quantum field that then is picked up by human beings. Picked up by human beings who are in some... So if you're one of those people who is not being served by the system at hand, you don't have access to the currency of the goods and services flowing within the body of humanity. You're left out. You're angry about that. You're frightened. You're uncomfortable. You're in a state of negative emotion because you aren't getting it. You're afraid of tomorrow. How are you going to feed your baby? How are you going to keep a roof over your head? How are you going to keep the wolves from the door? How are you going to claim your piece of the abundant pie that's going on right now? Because there really is quite an abundant pie. There's lots and lots of cars being driven around out there. There's lots of food being eaten. There's lots of planes being flown to vacations. And, there's a lot of fun being had. There's a lot of satisfaction going on, but it's not satisfying the whole field. And there's a great number of disenfranchised. All those disenfranchised are nibbling around the edges of humanity. They are in a state where they're ready to pick up that Shiva energy. I could explain this from a different direction probably better than what I've done this morning. It's going to be a running theme in these shows. This unsustainability equals the dark energies. And we need to understand how these dark energies come to be. We need to quit taking them personally. We need to quit focusing on the specific human being who's carrying the Shiva energy, because that's not really important. And as we focus on any particular villain, we lose touch with the whole point of the understanding, which is we are one morphogenetic field. There is no villain. There is no villain. I don't care. The people carrying the Shiva energy are not the villains. The Shiva energy is the villain. It's the polarity in the field is the villain. The us and them construct of the mind is the villain. There is no us and them. There is only us. Only us, only human beings on this planet. And where did we come from? And how are we designed? And where are we going? And what's the meaning of our lives? And how do we solve all of the problems that I already described? The physical problems, hunger, children being hungry. I forgot that one. It's implied. War, all of that stuff. How do we solve all those problems? Well, we got to understand who we are. We got to understand who we are, and we got to understand how it works. And we've got to understand how the energies move, and how the way we are focused, what we are looking at, how we feel as we look at that and as we act. It makes all the difference. The state of being that we're in, it makes all the difference. Now, these are the four general states of being: specific negative, general positive, specific positive. And think of this as sort of a general version of the emotional scale that we're going to show you. This one right here. It's a general outline of this, which goes from at the bottom, that would be the number 20, and down there would correspond to specific negative. And then general negative, it starts loosening up, and then general positive and specific positive. That is the movement towards source. That is the movement of your two minds coming together and lining up with one another. As you go from the negative to the positive, you are moving towards, that's what the motion of alignment feels like. Feels like moving that direction. And you need to be listening for the call of source, your call of your broader perspective, that inner being, that vibrational self that you are, that knows who you are, knows what you want, knows where you've come from, knows where everything that you want is, and how it has been moving since that moment that you declared what you wanted. And how it relates to the rest of the field, how it's been moving since then, where it's located now. And you know, the reason that it knows that is because, very interesting, it knows that because of the nature of source energy, of how it's designed, how the Planck field communicates information across the field. How the field is holographic, and it really does matter that that the universe is holographic. It's not just a philosophical fluff point. Excuse me, the fact that the universe is holographic the fact that the universe is holographic is extremely important because it tells you a lot of things. It explains how your inner being knows everything, for one thing. Because everything that there is to be known is everywhere to be known. It's not, you don't have to go anywhere to get all of the information of all of the universe. It's everywhere. And that matters. So I don't think I'm quite at my transition point, because basically, so we're talking about source energy. We're talking about who am I? But we're talking about who am I in reference to source energy. Who am I as an individual, as source energy? What does that make us collectively as source energy? What source energy actually is on its own, because that's going to help free humanity from all of the litany of problems that I just outlined earlier. Our understanding of source energy is going to lead us out of the wilderness. Because the biggest part of our problems are created because of the way we extract energy from fossil fuels. The reason we extract energy from fossil fuels is that we do not understand source energy. If we understood source energy, there's a million ways to tap into it directly or indirectly. Actually, over the last more than 100 years, there has been a good history of over-unity devices tapping into the frequencies in different ways. Now, most of them, I don't know of any of them who have been directly extracting from, using Casimir plates to pump the vacuum to extract energy directly from the source of all energy. But there have definitely been lots of ways to tag into steady state frequencies going on in the universe, different ways to... We've invented things like cars that run on water. You put water in them in the engine and run them on water. Why have those things been deep sixed? Well, because the powers that be own the oil. And those people have a great deal of momentum going on with us and our activities and the way things are. It is there. So you got to understand, the people who own the fossil fuels want to keep sailing their billion-dollar yachts, flying their Learjets and so on to their private islands, and twitching their fingers and having all kinds of things go their way in the world. They don't want to give up their power. And why would they want to give up their power? This has a long history. This started when, well, I don't know. Who's to say when things started? But when J.P. Morgan realized what Nikola Tesla was trying to do, when J.P. Morgan realized what Nikola Tesla wanted to do was trying to give free energy and free communications with his Tesla Tower. He was trying to do something that he wasn't trying to sell. He was trying to give this to people, and when J.P. Morgan realized it, he pulled Tesla's backing, and that didn't go any farther. He didn't want... So I was pretty short-sighted, actually, because our whole economy could have gone a different direction. But the robber barons don't want to give up the power. And the power right now, the infrastructure, has all been built on fossil fuels. And as a matter of fact, there's a whole lot more infrastructure that wants to keep being built on fossil fuels. We want the Willow Project. Oh my God, that should not happen. That's using our energy stores to do this. But the oil robber barons should not be done. Should not be done. What is that? That's a plan to tap into the oil reserves owned by the United States up in Alaska. We really shouldn't do that. We should not be building any more infrastructure. No more infrastructure based on the old paradigm. And actually, the new world that's going to be coming into being, it is coming into being. I don't know how long it will take for it to come. 50 years, 20 years, 15 years, 100 years, 175 years, 20... I don't know. But I know that this new world is coming into being, and it is based on a different paradigm. It is based on a true understanding of source energy, an understanding of the quantum field, an understanding of us, who we are, consciousness, universal consciousness, all of that. And I am kind of inadequately covering this whole concept here, but I'm going to do it today, and I'm going to do it tomorrow, and I'm going to do it the next day, and I'm going to get better and better and better at it. And people who follow this over any length of time, certainly as they hear me come at it from different directions and I keep coming back to the same thing, they'll start going, oh, you know what? I know what you're saying. And it'll work. This is going to work. So we're back to this. These are your two minds. You could think of your... So a long time ago I wrote these notes. This is words to describe your binary system. These are your two minds, your macro and your micro. That's one way of looking at your inner being is your macro consciousness, and you are your micro consciousness. And the two of you need to be working in tandem. You need to be focusing in the same direction on the same thing, plugged into the group and impulsing from source. And we're so not doing that. That is the explanation for the chaos that you see transpiring on planet Earth at this time. The explanation is not that certain specific individuals are demons and need to be are wicked and need to be punished. I'm actually not one of those people who believes that everybody needs to be thrown in jail. Well, let's don't sidetrack here. So these two beings that you are, that's your inner being and your outer being, you're timeless and you're temporal. How about that one? You're eternal and you're expirational. Because from a source perspective, you are eternal. You are the field. You are the quantum field. That's what you actually are. You are the formless, giving rise to the form. That's what you are. And if you would identify that way, your life would turn out different. You'd be less fearful. You would be guided by your inner being, by your broader perspective that is always trying to guide you to your happily ever after, your dreams come true. How does your inner being know what you want? It's been keeping track of it your whole life, your whole existence, not just your life, but from the beginning of time, when you first spun into being. Your inner being has been keeping track of what you want. That's what your inner being is. It's a record of what you want. And now, it's not just a record of what you want, but where it is and how it's moving with everything else and how you could get to your dreams come true unfolding in front of you. How would you do that? By following the guidance of your inner being who knows. How do you do that? You care how you feel. Because if you are in a state of negative emotion, by implication, I mean, there's just no discussion. You might say, yeah, but that thing out there in reality, that's why. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you feel bad, you are in a state of negative emotion and you are not lined up with your inner being who never, ever, ever feels bad. It knows how connected you are to all things. It knows how loved you are. So I have friends who have different issues. I have 3 friends who have lost children. How sad for a parent to lose a child. It's not really the way it should go. The child should be burying the parent. The parent should not be burying the children. One happened just recently, and I'm so sad for her and her family, mostly. She had 4 children still living at home, 5 children altogether. One had moved away. She was young. I have 2 other friends who lost younger children, I think old. They were grown-up children, but they weren't all that old. Late teens, early 20s, something like that. I don't know. Not sure exactly how old they were when they lost their children. But I have 2, and those 2 people that I know, and I love them dearly, they're having a hard time getting past it. One of the reasons your inner being is not sad because your child left, because your inner being knows exactly where your child still is. Your inner being is touching that frequency that your child still is. And so your inner being's not sad that they're gone, that their body has laid down, because your inner being knows who they really are. That they are source energy, that they are a continuum of frequency, of intention, of desire, of motion, of life, and that they still exist. They didn't really go anywhere. This body, this world of flux and form is in constant motion. And there's an aspect of that is really unsettling to human beings. We want to grasp and cling at something in this world of flux and form that doesn't move. And there really isn't anything that doesn't move, although I learned yesterday how very, 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 very stable a proton is. A proton's really, really stable. And even though it is a black hole and it is emitting, it's shedding energy through Hawking radiation, like every black hole does. The fact is it's shedding it. The way the mathematics work, it's actually stable for like 10 to the 35 billion years. So it's pretty stable. So the protons themselves are pretty stable in the field, but the way they mix and morph and turn from this form to that form, the world of flux and form is in flux and form. It's moving. it's morphing. And when you try to cling to the rolling manifestation and its forms that are not just becoming but also begoing, when you try to take your identity from the world of form, human beings get into an uncomfortable place. This goes to our design, who we are as human beings. That when you identify with the world of form instead of the world of the formless, you put yourself in kind of an uncomfortable position. So you are this binary system that I'm showing right now. You are the formless giving rise to the form. You are a source energy mind and a specific meat vehicle body mind working in tandem. And this source of you, this broader perspective, is trying to give you guidance as to which direction you should move. How do you take that guidance? You got to care how you feel. Because anytime you take a thought that is not in resonance with your inner being, that thought feels like negative emotion. So we're going to put this guidance scale up. This is your state of being guidance scale, and it corresponds to that strong negative, the specific negative, general negative, specific. Well, it kind of does. It kind of does. The general states of being slide. This is describing to you how you put the brakes on. Going general slows momentum. So if you've got strong negative momentum going that you're trying to break that momentum so that you can stop being negative, slow those negative trains, pull into the station and then move out in a positive direction. If you're trying to do that and you're having a hard time breaking that negative momentum because you're so practiced being negative, the specifics of all of the things that you don't like are just popping and jumping at you because you're so specifically negative. If you want to put the brakes on that, pull out into the general. Say to yourself something like, so you're looking at something very specific and you don't like it. Pull back to the general and say, life sucks. Now you're not looking at it specifically. You're just kind of looking at a general negative. There's a lot of things in life I don't like. It sucks. So now from there, if you can get yourself to quiet from there, now now you're not looking at the specifics you were looking at just a minute ago. Now you might be able to turn and say, you know what? But I have experienced, there are some things that are going well for me. Or I love my puppy dog. Or, God, I love my child. Don't immediately pivot to, yeah, but I don't have anything to feed it. Just focus on the love. Focus on what you like. Focus on something generally positive. From the general negative, go to the general positive, and then from there you can move into a specific positive. Now that's sort of not very well explained. I could very much more get into that. Someday I'm going to have people listening to me and I'm going to allow them to ask me questions. I want them to ask me questions and I'll clarify. I'll go in and talk whatever more clearly about any of this stuff, how this works. So we need to talk about source energy itself from a mathematical and just a layman's perspective. So I watched something yesterday that just about blew my mind. It was a mathematical and physics explanation of Nassim Haramein and his team over at the International Space Federation, their latest paper called The Origin of Mass and the Nature of Gravity. And it was a 37-minute, went through all the mathematics. Man, eye-crossing, mind-bending mathematical language. Holy cow. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a very layman's perspective, just what all general people should understand about source energy. And then if you happen to be mathematically inclined, please go take your mathematics, your mathematical mind, and go over and join the team and understand source energy from that perspective and help us get out of the, I keep saying, out of the wilderness, out of the wilderness, out of the wilderness, because we are in the wilderness. This wilderness of fossil fuel use that we really, really, really need to start moving away from. Now, I don't expect to be moved away from it for a good long time, but we need to start moving. The consciousness, at least, needs to start moving that direction. And then from the consciousness will flow the action, the source-based action that will dream us into the world we want and away from the world we've got, right? So what is source energy? What is it? It's a Planck field of it's like the fabric of space-time is pixelated. It's pixelated. And these pixels are these Plancks. What's a Planck? It's a frequency. It's a teeny weeny, as short as this set of physical parameters allows for. And it is, and because of that, it's the pixels that all of space-time is made up of. And the appearance of things comes from when this Planck field spins. So spin is the origin of all, I want to say the word apparition, but that's not the word. It's appearance, or that's not the word either. Phenomenon. How about that? Spin is it's at the basis of all phenomenon. As matter comes across what I call the event horizon of the 0-point energy field, as it goes from being Plancks that are not organized into matter that is organized, it spins. Spin is what it is. Spin is where that is coming from. And so I have a couple of very... so this is The Origin of Mass and the Nature of Gravity. That's the new paper. It was published back in September. It's got all kinds of good stuff in there. And there's a lot of better slides that I need to extract from this. As a matter of fact, I saw yesterday that the coolest... that's the full abstract. The coolest video that they put out, which is a full explanation of this paper. So cool. And it explains how mass emerges from the quantum field. What did I say it was called? I should have it labeled correctly over here. The Origin of Mass and the Nature of Gravity. So this explanation also helps us to understand where gravity comes from. This is my inadequate picture that shows it comes from their paper. This is showing how, as matter goes from being just the Planck field to a spinning proton, for instance, how spin itself is baked into the cake. And this understanding and all of the forces that flow from this understanding is going to lead us to gravity control. Gravity control for humanity. Not just gravity control for the military arm of my government, not your government, and not everybody in the government, but just the military arm. It's not going to be like that. All of the paradigms of the way we relate to, the paradigms of the way that we relate to each other now, the way we have organized amongst ourselves now, are all based upon us not knowing who we are. As we come to know who we are and what we're made of and how life is coming to us and how the direction, how we are focused and how we feel when we focus. So how we're focused, that's how we're looking. How we feel when we focus that direction, that is implying whether we are in alignment with our greater perspective or not, with our inner being, with our source mind. If you're feeling bad, you're not in alignment, so quit acting. Sit on your hands. The most important thing that you can do is make yourself feel better. And then from that feeling better place, now make some new choices. It's the old alignment and then. Now, I grew up in a religion that I think has a lot of flaws. But if you don't focus on the flaw part, because it was established in the 1800s, and so a lot of what flows from it is a kind of 19th century cosmology, and I don't believe that. But there are some aspects of this religion that really have it going on. And one of them that I remember from growing up is I had a sense that really good members of this church who were living their religion in what I thought was a blessed and beautiful way. They abide by a rule, sort of a general rule, which is spirit first. Spirit first. Get into that peaceful, loving, kind, connected spirit of God, spirit of whatever, and then spirit first, and then spirit first, and then. It very much mimics the alignment and then. Align yourself to your inner being and then follow those impulses, whatever they are, follow them. As long as you are in alignment with your inner being, then you are following your broader perspectives, directions about how to walk your path. It's like we are living in it's kind of like a maze, but it's more like a labyrinth. A labyrinth full of all kinds of treasures and delights and secrets and pitfalls and dangers and all kinds of stuff. And you are down, your specific self is down walking the labyrinth. And your broader perspective is standing above you and can see all the paths, knows where the dangers are, knows where the happiness is, knows where all the satisfying moments, knows where the prizes are located, knows who's holding the prizes, how to unlock the prizes if someone is... It knows everything. And how you find your happily ever after, your dreams come true, your path to the prizes, and how to avoid the dangers. You have to follow your inner being's guidance, and it is guiding you from a state of peace. Follow a particular frequency. Get onto that frequency and then follow the impulses coming from there. You're now hooked up with source energy, and all the world is your cooperative components. So that's the answer. This understanding is going to, this one that I've got up on the board, this particular understanding of the fundamental nature of spin is going to help give us gravity control. What happens when we get gravity control? We get to pull our vehicles up off the surface of the planet, and we no longer have to lay down concrete and asphalt everywhere. We don't have to do that. As a matter of fact, at some point we get to pull up the parking lot and rebuild paradise. Can hardly wait for that. We can go back to be the gardeners of planet Earth. Because I'll tell you what, this understanding of source energy is going to eventually lead us to is unlimited free, clean energy anywhere anybody wants it. We're going to have so much unlimited, clean, free energy, we're going to be able to tackle every project that we need to tackle. So let's go back to that litany of terrible things that I don't like as a human being. As a collective, coming from the all of us point of view, these things that we don't like. So what do we got here? We got the sixth mass extinction, growing deserts, garbage island, hole in the ozone, war, and all of the things that follow from that, Holocaust, suffering, cruelty, and then things like polar bears, plight of the polar bears, drowning polar bears. Don't like any of that stuff. How is this understanding of source energy going to lead us to freedom from all of these things? Well, so a lot of these things are being caused by the way we extract fossil fuels. Garbage Island is not being well, so I'll tell you what happens with Garbage Island. We could recycle Garbage Island. But the problem is that we need lots and lots and lots of energy to do that. And the energy that we would use would be coming from fossil fuels, and it just doesn't make sense. It's like with every one of these things, the problem is that we go one step forward, and then using the fossil fuels takes us 2 steps back. So we're going 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and we can't get anywhere. We need a different way of extracting the energy. We need to understand source energy so that we can tap directly into source. We can plug our technologies directly into source. It can be done. The fact that we have been thinking for the longest time that it's impossible to do it is why we haven't been working on how to do it. As long as you believe something is impossible to understand, even if it is possible to understand it, you will never understand it. I know a lot of religious people who think that there's all kinds of cosmic things about the nature of source energy, who is God, and all of that sort of thing, how that's not possible to understand. And so they never try, and so they can't understand it. But I'm telling you, it can be understood. We can understand this. The first step is you got to believe it can be understood. And then you've got to make sure that you don't accidentally put that faith bridge in the wrong place. You got to line your analytics up. You got to add everything up. If you're trying to subtract things out of the wholeness picture and then still come up with the correct wholeness, you're not going to get there, because if you're talking about allness, by definition, everything goes into that allness picture. So you've got to add up everything you've ever come across, everything that you have ever thought or known or felt or seen or read, or you've got to add it all up in order to understand it. It's not that hard. You just throw it into that room where everything goes, like, I don't know what to do with that, but just throw it in the room. And eventually your own consciousness will start ordering things. It will start putting things together that go together. And then one day you'll wake up and go, oh, look at what that bigger picture is. Look at that. Look at that. I can see it. I can see it. It can be seen. We can see this. It's over there at Universal Consciousness, and Universal Consciousness is called that for a reason. All the information is there. We're all over there. We all have a broader perspective. But most of us are not encouraged to engage our broader perspective, analytically anyway. Most of us, our broader perspective is so tangled because we're not in alignment with our binary system because nobody has told us how this works. And so we've just taken whatever we were taught as kids, and then we look at it and we sort of knee jerk to the assuming that it is what it looks like it is, which it totally isn't. You cannot assume reality to be what it appears to be without some self-examination, because you are observing reality from the mechanism of your observational system. And if you don't understand your observational system, you could very well, you probably are, and especially if you have ever been traumatized, if your psyche has been damaged in any way, then your knee-jerk assumptions about what reality actually is are probably wrong. Now, it just means that you're out of alignment. Everyone in their wrongness still has something very profound about them that is right, that is always right. And you can't subtract everybody from the picture. I'm sorry, forgive me. I've wandered into a place where there's a lot of information and I'm not enormously focused and directed, and so it feels a little discombobulated right where I am right now. Let me find myself to a more directed position. We can understand this, though. I promise you, it can be understood. Human beings can understand this. So, what is source energy? Do I want to talk about that more? This Planck field and how it knows everything. How it's... I don't know what I want to talk about. I'm 1 hour and 11 minutes into my program. All right. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I promise you that from a mathematical and physics standpoint, this new understanding of source energy and who we are, this new understanding of how the origin of mass and the nature of gravity and all that, this new understanding is going to lead us to the place where we don't have to extract fossil fuels from the planet anymore, and this is going to give us all of the things. It's going to free us from the sixth mass extinction is largely happening from human behavior from the way we are extracting energy from the planet. All kinds of things, like even all of the energies that we call green energies are not green energies. Electric cars are not green energy. They are horrific. And if you've seen the poison caused by those lithium mining operations and stuff to make those damn batteries to run those cars, it's not clean at all. It's not at all green. And it's still a paradigm imagining that we can't make over-unity devices, that we can't run cars on water, which we can. That has been done, as a matter of fact. I'm going to recommend at this moment a movie. I try to do this every day. Sometimes I forget. The movie's called The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. And it is a history of the over-unity devices that human beings have invented in the last century and a quarter. And how those devices have been deep-sixed, often, sometimes, along with their inventors, in order that the truth not be known. And now, actually, I'm not sure if it was the truth not be known. It was something more simple than that. The robber barons owned the infrastructure, and they do not want to give up their hold on power. And their particular claim on the currency of humanity is coming from fossil fuels, and the way that they can claim enormous portions of the food and the toys and all that from this infrastructure, they don't want to let go of it. And they may have to let go of it for a minute until that collective abundance comes back to all of us. And actually, this new paradigm is going to be way, way, way better. The robber barons are finding themselves more and more they're like billionaires in a bleaker and bleaker landscape around them. So like they're the only, it's like they own it all, and the people around them are suffering. A different way to look at that is that they have their abundance, but they are in a sea of growing Shiva energy. And quite frankly, the masses are going to start setting up guillotines at some point if something doesn't give. And that's exactly what happens when something in the field is not sustainable, not sustaining, not nourishing, not connected to the rest of the group, not fulfilling the needs, and is inflexible and won't budge, then drastic measures sometimes are taken. I'm not advocating such things. I'm not advocating bloody revolution. I'm just saying when you make peaceful revolution impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable, because we are evolving. We are moving forward. And any attempts to try to stop that forward momentum, you stop it from happening peacefully, and you guarantee that it will happen violently. It's sort of like the fault line. If it doesn't move incrementally over time, then it's going to lurch forward at some point with some kind of big jarring motion. That's what I call the world wars. That's what they were. And they jarred us as humanity out of certain political systems that we had going on, what would you call that? The systems of aristocracy. For instance, before World War I, a lot of Europe was set up like Downton Abbey. You know, you had the big estates, and then you had all the people who worked to make those estates run, and then you had all of the people producing all the goods and services, a lot of which went to the aristocracy because they were the ones that could afford to buy the goods. That's always the way it is. They're the ones buying the yachts, they're the ones buying the helicopters and anyway, so that was the system that was in place, and it wasn't budging, and it wasn't fulfilling all the needs of all the people. And Shiva energy built up in the field, and that anger. What is Shiva energy? It's the energy of negative emotion coming from human beings. Where does it come from? It's coming from our needs not being met. If I don't have the currency that allows me to put a roof over my head and my child's head and food in our bellies, I start feeling bad. I start feeling frightened. I start feeling angry. I start feeling desperate. Desperate people whose needs are not being met are dangerous energies. So how does that work? How does that work? I was on a good line. I was talking about the role of history and how World War I was sort of Shiva energy coalescing in the field to knock down some rigid systems that were not sustaining a great deal of the population. It was creating Shiva energy. Angry, unsatisfied, unfulfilled people who didn't have food, who didn't have access to the flow of currency that is humanity. And if you watch the reason I say that about Downton Abbey is when you watch Downton Abbey and you're vested in the servants, for instance, and you see how life sort of loosened up for them after that war. a lot of opportunities were created after that war that weren't available before that war. Now, there was still a lot of Shiva energy in the field. There still is a lot of Shiva energy right now. And to the extent that we do not understand who we are, that Shiva energy is growing. To the extent that we do understand who we are, people are lining up with their inner being and moving in cooperatively collective directions. So let's see. How is this understanding of source energy going to lead us to the end of war? Well, a lot of the war, the basic reasons for war is squabbling over scarce resources. And the biggest resource out there that we are grubbing for and scrambling for and fighting about is energy, because it's very limited in this paradigm of extracting it from fossil fuels. But it would be completely unlimited if we were extracting it from the source of all energy. What is this source of all energy? It's this quantum field. Why is it the source of all energy? What is it? It's everything interacting with everything all the time. It's the allness. It's the power of the allness. It's the power of this allness as it transfers data and information across scales, across the universe. It's this Planck field touching itself, interfering with itself, transferring the information of all things across the whole field all the time. That's what source energy is. That also explains why it's holographic, why it knows where everything is, because it's touching everything. It's touching everything vibrationally. All the information of all the universe is everywhere. It's actually encoded within the Planck field of every individual proton in the universe. Contains all the information of all the other protons all across the universe. It just does. And I believe that it is current now, as everything is moving, it's transferring its information across the field. It's sort of like reporting to the allness. And then the allness is sort of like it's uploading its information to the allness, and the information of the allness is downloading to all the specific parts. Now. The universe knows who you are, knows where you are, knows where everything that you want is, how it's been moving from the moment you declared you wanted it. And so what's the answer? Line up with your inner being, and your inner being will guide you to where you want to go. What is your inner being? It's that still small voice inside of you. It's that, actually, I can discuss this a little tiny bit and give us some clarity on what this inner being is. So imagine it this way. How do you line up your two selves? How do you know where they are? Where is one of the selves? Where's the other self? How can I identify the two of them? How do I know which one's my source self? How do I know which one's my analytical, specific mind? And how do I get those two of them together? First of all, your source mind is... Stay with me on this one. Your source mind is the imp. It's the impulse. It's that feeling of go. It's that urge forward. It's that you can feel it in your solar plexus. It's a kind of a leaping forward kind of a sensation. So your inner being, your source aspect, is the impulse. That's the impulse. The impulse within you, that's your source. The other mind, this your analytical self, some people call this your ego mind. It's actually just your physically based, expirational, temporal aspect of your configuration. That self is, you can identify that one by, it's your beliefs. It's your beliefs. So your impulse is your soul. Your impulse is where your inner being is. It's an energy. It's source energy. That's why it's the impulse. The impulse is your source energy aspect, from your point of view, and your beliefs are your temporal, your micro self. So your micro and your macro. You're trying to figure out which one is which, and how do I line the two of them up? Okay, I understand I need to feel good, but how do you do that? How do you identify any of this stuff, and how do you work it out? So your impulse is your source, and your beliefs are your ego mind. I hate to say ego because it has such a pejorative connotation. And I don't mean it as negative. It's actually a tremendously positive aspect of your being. You got to work this out. You got to work it out between the two. Now, the source mind already is in touch with all things as they really are, and then with love and knowing and connection and good, it's already got it going on. You're the one that's got to figure out how to line up with the other one. That other one is not going to do anything different based on its the source. It does what it does, and it's connected to what it's connected to, and you're not going to change that. Your job is to line your little self up with the light that the big self is shining. When you start grubbing around in thoughts that your inner being's not interested in, you're looking around in the darkness, and no wonder it feels bad, right? So your beliefs are your smaller self, and your impulse is your source self. How do you line these two up? Because you got to line them up. You have to believe that your desires are valid. You have to believe that your desires are possible. So one of the answers to that is figure out how to desire possible things. That's one thing. And then learn how to massage what it is that you do believe. It's both of those things. It's kind of a dance of adjusting what you want, or your understanding of what you want, and your belief about whether or not you can. So the thing is say for instance, maybe you don't have a penny to your name, and your belief is, if I had a Lamborghini, I would be happy. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want. That is what I want. And I can't have it, so I can't be happy. Maybe it's, I want my dead child to come back to life. And if that would happen, then I would be happy. But unless that's happening, I'm not happy. Well, I'm telling you right now, it's not happening, so you're not going to be happy. So your desire and your belief are in two completely different places. The thing is what you want is not as physically based as you think it is. Your analytical physical mind has translated your desires into objects. That loved one that you want to come back, that's an object. You think it's their spirit, their heart. No, I loved them. It's my love. No, in that moment, you're looking at them from an objective point of view, and you've translated your desire into that object, Your belief says that object can't happen because actually it's not going to happen. And so you're stuck in this place where you can't ever have what you want. Well, that stalls you out. And you want to free yourself from that, because honestly, that impulse of your desire is sacred. That wick, that flame, that impulse, that place where the motion is, that is sacred. That is divine. That is not something that it's just okay that it rests in a place that you can never believe and just atrophies there. It's not okay. You need to find a way to believe what you want. And I'm going to tell you what you really want. This is what we want. We want, and the wants that we have to do with feelings, have to do with vibrations, have to do with, I want that feeling. I want that feeling. And you have translated that desire for that feeling into an object, that when you get that object, now you will allow the feeling. And that's a misunderstanding of your equipment. You don't work it that way. It doesn't work that way. So what you really want is feelings in the first place. Freedom, abundance, fun, relationship, satisfying work, efficiency, clarity, comfort, beauty, expansion, joy, freedom. That's what we want. That's what we want. And now the job of your specific individual land-based mind is to find a way to translate the reality around you into that feeling. And actually, it's really the other way around. You're supposed to hold the vibration, hold the feeling, no matter what it looks like around you. No matter what is raining down upon you, no matter what is happening in the rolling manifestation at this moment, hold on to the feeling that you want and have faith that what's going to happen, because this is how it works. Vibration precedes the rolling manifestation. The manifestation is following the vibration. It's the vibration first, and then upon the vibration, the reality of it coalesces. It's a vibration first, then pattern, then rolling manifestation. We usually go the other way around. We think that, well, I'll bang this condition into a configuration that I find pleasing, and as soon as I get it to a place where I like it, then I give myself the green light to feel good. But that's actually not how you should do it. The fact is we are in a blessed universe. Absolutely blessed. Absolutely perfect. Perfectly reflective. Perfectly holographic. Perfectly fractal. Perfectly loving. Kind. Connected. Conscious. All of those things this universe is. It absolutely is. But if you persist in doing the things that hold you in states of negative emotion, and then insist on taking that as an indictment upon existence itself, and then insisting on acting under the chaotic impulses of that negative emotion, you're having a rough ride. And you are going to continue to have a rough ride. And that ride is not going to get better for you until you recognize that the universe is a perfect reflection of you. In any given moment, in totality, and the experience that you are having within your world, the way that you have absolute control over your experience has to do with rendezvous. It has to do with how you're meeting up with how your impulses are causing you to line up with what energies out there in the field. If you are because you're a broadcaster and a receiver, by the way, you are a broadcaster and a receiver. That is how, that's how you're interacting with the world, with the universe around you, and it's absolutely perfect. Whatever you are broadcasting on, you are resonating with that energy in the field, and those energies are coming together. If you're on the Henri channel, I bet you that you're meeting other Henri people, and perhaps you're even being inspired to start clubs based on grievances that you have about things that piss you off, people driving drunk, or maybe certain political candidates have a tendency to bring together certain energies. There certain candidates have a tendency to. So what is this phenomenon of authoritarian psychosis that plays into this? Actually, I should have a show. I should make theme shows based on different aspects of this greater field of information that I'm covering. Maybe I should have one show that's just talking about source energy itself from a technological point of view, and how to understand gravity. And except for, it's hard to isolate any of these ideas because they all feed right back into each other. This allness thing, and the way the Planck field works, and then, oh my gosh, that explains why your inner being knows where everything is. It's your cosmic vibrational anatomy. It's that part of you that extends past your skin, because you do have an aspect of you that is extending past your skin. You're emitting a frequency. It's comprised of a whole lot of stuff. You're a thermal engine burning at almost 100 degrees for your entire life. You could read that readout with a infrared scanner. You can see that part of what you're emitting. Your heart is emitting an electromagnetic frequency that can be measured with equipment that you could buy at Lowe's. It extends measurably about 9 meters. Is it 9 meters or 9 feet or 3 meters? It extends past you. And I imagine, depending on who you are as an individual, you might have one that is extending stronger, farther, or less far, But your heart and your brain are emitting electromagnetic fields that are measurable. There's a new kind of brain scan. It's called a magnetoencephalogram, and it is a device that sits outside of your head. It doesn't touch you, and it's measuring your brain waves. It's like an EEG. Is it an electroencephalogram? Yeah. But it's not touching your skull in any way. Your brain is emitting this electromagnetic field. And the sum total of all of this, your emotions are changing the transmission that you are broadcasting. And the universe is an absolute perfect machine. It knows exactly where you are, what you are... So let's get back to the notion of the imp being the location of where your source energy mind is, and the impulse to act is where your source energy mind is. And actually, I'm just going to call it the imp, because it's the imp. It's just that sensation that when it builds, I mean, you have to act. So it's the impulse to everything. That's where your source energy self is. And then your set of beliefs that's you. You got to get those two in the same place. You also have to know that at its deepest core, at its clearest level, all of your desires are valid. It is okay for you to want to feel better. It is appropriate that you desire to feel better. It is okay for you to desire abundance, for you to desire freedom, for you to desire fun, for you to desire beauty, clarity, all of these things. You are entitled to that, and I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're an authoritarian dictator. I don't care if you're a pedophile. I don't care if you're a rapist. I don't care if you're an asshole. It doesn't matter. We are all one morphogenetic field. Your neighbor is your unknown self, made visible. And all of us together equal a wholeness. And the problems that we are experiencing with the ornery cusses, ruining it for everybody with their acting up, they are carrying Shiva energy. And the reason they're carrying Shiva energy is because someone in the field, likely you, but it doesn't matter. We are one. We are one. And it's just like when that person goes to the psychiatrist, the one that acts up in the family is just the one who's displaying the family sickness. Well, that you can say that for anybody. Those January 6th insurrectionists that the Democrats want to, pillory, they are carrying Shiva energy from the whole field because the systems are not meeting everyone's needs. There's a whole lot of people that are falling through the cracks, whose needs are not being met, and they are frightened, and they are angry, and they are what other kinds of states of, they're jealous, they're vengeful. There are all kinds of things. This is all Shiva energy, and the Shiva energy can coalesce in the field, and an authoritarian at the top of the ticket can weave all of that disgruntled energy into a single that's how come the facts on the ground don't matter to the Trump people. Don't matter at all, because it has to do with energy. It all has to do with energy. They are carrying our Shiva energy. They are angry. They are threatened. They feel belligerent. They feel hostile. They don't know who they are. That's all it is. It's us not knowing who we are. And that's why I dedicate this program now and forevermore to a greater understanding of who I am. Who am I? Who are we? Where did we come from? Where are we going? Why are we here? I haven't even answered any of those questions. I kind of want to, on the one hand, answer every question within 2 hours, and yet every one of these subjects has deep levels of amazing ways to understand this in more and more detail that couldn't possibly be done simply in 2 hours. So I'm going to be inviting you all into my space here before too long. I don't know if it's going to it'll probably be March. Possibly by the end of March, I will be broadcasting this little program live. And there will be hardly any of you in the room at first. I'm hoping that at some point, I can get a lot of people in the room and I can get, some really interesting, good questions going. But that isn't going to happen right away. We're going on vacation for most of the month of February. My husband is retiring, and we're going to kick off his retirement with a grand bucket list vacation. So I probably will not be broadcasting live before that, but after we get back, I'm going to seriously start thinking about flipping the switch and turning this into a live broadcast, and then after that, allowing you to call in. There's actually a chat function on so as soon as I start going live, people are going to be able to ask me questions that they can write down. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe this will become a thing. I think it's fun to get into this state where I know everything that I know. I don't know more than what I know, but I know everything that I know. And from this place, I can answer a lot of questions. I can't answer every question because there's a lot of things that I don't know. But it's kind of this place where my analytical self and my source self are in the same place. And so without resistance, I know a lot of things. But I don't know everything. I'm not sure that I'm channeling Abraham, or actually I'm not really channeling Abraham. Earlier this year, actually it was last year now, I determined that my intention as a human being, I wanted to be a channeler because I thought that sounded like fun. But who I wanted to channel was not some other consciousness. I don't want to channel Theo or even Abraham or I don't know the names of the Cryon. There's all kinds of people channeling non-physical entities. But who I wanted to channel was my own inner being, whatever the hell that meant. And it's taken me about 9 months to get from that point where I, in my consciousness, recognized that what I wanted to do was channel my own inner being, to this place where I can get into this room and riff about stuff for a couple of hours, kind of leave my small self behind, talk about what I know from my broader perspective through the words of this individual self that I am. Then when I'm done with this, I turn it off and I go back and make breakfast and, do all the ordinary things that today is going to be going bowling, that sort of thing. So who am I? Who am I? Who am I? I am this binary self, absolutely. But who am I mostly? I am source energy. I am made of the field. I am made of those plonks. I am made of the pixels that are part of this larger pattern that is in complete communication with itself. And I'm there with it, so I must be part of that too. And what I haven't talked about today, I'm going to talk about it for just a few minutes. I have about 12 minutes left before I really need to hang up, because I don't want this to ever go longer than 2 hours. 2 hours is long enough for any given day. And if I've been top heavy on, one aspect of this subject and a little light on others, forgive me. If you listen to me every day, you'll hear all of it, because it's all of this is part of the whole package. Who am I? And who am I in reference to source energy specifically, coming at that from an abstract and mathematical point of view on the one hand, so that we can understand how that will lead us to our energy, freedom, and gravity control. Both of those things very important for humanity. And then on the other hand, understanding it from a personal biological perspective, so that I know how to lead my own steps into better pathways, more blessed pathways, more cooperatively, beneficially, life-sustaining pathways. That's both of those things. How to make my dreams come true. how to lead my own steps to my happily ever after, because I do believe that I have a guidance system that if I would but learn how to use it, learn how to more fully understand who I am, the meaning of my negative emotions. Know that when you are in a state of negative emotion, you are at that moment walking 180 degrees in the opposite direction of any of the things that you want. And so just know that. So stop acting or dawdle. At least go really slow when you're in a state of negative emotion. Don't get things done from a state of negative emotion. You are following mixed up impulses. Remember that your impulse, your imp is your inner being. When that imp is moving from a state of negative emotion, it's not taking guidance from your inner being, and you're all over the place. Your ride is rough. You're not taking readings from the mothership. You're just whatever. So I put up this picture. This is a little slice of your specific mind. This is your meat mind. You're made of brain in your skull. This is that mind and how it works. You have all the lower minds are still existent within your system. Your lizard brain still controls what it controls: breathing, temperature, sex drive, hunger, thirst, all of that stuff. Your mammalian brain starts bringing in new capabilities, the capability of attaching with caring. You care about something that's not just yourself. That's part of your mammalian brain, has allowed you to do that. Well, your neocortex is your broader perspective brain. It's your analytical mind, your ability to see the bigger picture with your analytical brain, your analytical mind. That neocortex, 76% of the neocortex comes from human chromosome number 2. And human chromosome number 2 is the relic of an ancient fusion of 2 other chromosomes. So look at this. This comes from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, pnas.org. Very, 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 very easy to find. Published in 1991. It's the second volume. It's the one came out on October 15th. It's 40 articles in. I couldn't find a table of contents to immediately locate this. So I just looked and looked and looked, and then I found this one. It's called Origin of Human Chromosome Number 2, an ancestral telomere to telomere fusion, and it concludes that the configuration of human chromosome number 2 basically causes us to conclude that this is the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion, and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. And if you read the whole article and you see what it's actually saying, it's describing how redundancies on both sides of this telomere to telomere fusion were clipped away that stabilized this fusion. And the result of this fusion is the neocortex. I don't think it's an accident. This did not happen by way of incremental, random Darwinian evolutionary processes. That's not what created this. Something else happened. I believe we're genetically modified. And that would imply some sort of extraterrestrial contact around 200,000 years ago here on planet Earth. It gives rise to a lot of questions. Why did they do that to us? Did they know how that would turn out? Is this a beloved formula that they got going on? Is it an experiment? Are we their children, or their servants, or their slaves, or their teachers, or their what? Is it a bet? Are they sitting behind the moons of Jupiter right now, taking bets on when it is that, based on our design, are we going to be able to make it to alignment or not? Are we going to figure out who we are? They might be doing that. And the way they're going to be able to tell when we've done it is our vibration's going to settle down quite a bit. There's a lot of inflammation and agitation going on planet Earth right at this moment. That will settle down. You'll be able to tell. Earth in alignment is going to look way different than Earth not in alignment, which is what we got going on right now. So where did those people come from? I don't know. I don't know any of that. That is for future scientists to figure out where these people came from. I got one more thing and about 5 minutes to do it. My last set of slides, my old slides. Some people are going to want new slides. Why can't I have new slides? This is cymatic patterns, and cymatics is the study of the relationship between vibration and form, is one way that you could put what cymatics is. Hans Jenny was the founder of cymatics. These patterns were created by some sort of digital device that you pipe different frequencies in it, and you can see it. The different frequencies create different forms. Digital patterns, beautiful. So now this is the original study came from, you put a granular medium on a metal plate and pipe a frequency through it. And when you change the frequency, when you increase, the frequency goes higher, the pattern gets more complex, more and more complex. And you can see in the upper right and lower left, those are patterns created by a granular medium on a black metal plate with a frequency piped into it. That's how those are created. The ones upper left and lower right, those are ones that occur in nature. You can see tortoiseshell and some sort of, I don't know what those are, but they're some sort of creature. And the snowflake and stuff. This is how the universe is vibrational, and vibration and form have an absolute relationship. And your inner being is, when you pay attention to your inner being, you are feeling the universe. You are paying attention to the vibrations of the universe. And know that your feelings are not just you, small you, that you actually extend all the way to the edge of the universe. You are one with the universe. The universe is holographic. All of the universe is in you, and you are in all of it. It's just this beautiful symbiotic thing. So pay attention to how you feel. How you feel matters. How you feel is your inner being helping you to line up your analytical mind with source energy. That's you. Do I have time for this? I have about 3 minutes. These are the 5 kleshas from Buddhist philosophy, considered to be the root causes of all suffering. In light of the discussion that we have had this morning, look at how this lands now. The root causes of all suffering: not knowing what's real, grasping and clinging to the unreal. That would be the rolling manifestation, as opposed to the formless that you really are. You really are the formless. Identifying with an imaginary self means that you're identifying with the form of yourself, which is part of you. It's the clay that you're using to express this moment, but it isn't really you. The you that you really are is the quantum field, and that is eternal. Eternal, eternal, and nothing can hurt you. Nothing can touch you from where you really are. That state of safety and security, that feeling of knowing that you are okay from that vantage point, feels so good. Pay attention to how you feel. We're coming up on 2 hours, and so I'm going to have to let you go. And I'm sorry to do that because I've had a good time today, but I will be back tomorrow. I'm posting this to my YouTube channel that I just developed my new dedicated YouTube channel. It's called Who Am I? If I know you, I'm going to be sending you an invite when I feel that the content is ready for it. But I'll be back tomorrow talking about this, and I hope you will be with me too. Come March, I will be broadcasting this live. So it'll come out live, and then you can listen to it later as a recording as much as you want. Hopefully I will record some interesting things and you will want to listen to it. But until then, until tomorrow, I hope you have a great day. And until then, let's see. I need a good sign-off line. I don't know. I bid you peace.